Was involved there, but it's an interception. It's George Bridge, it's a breakaway try. Philly somersaulting now. Big George is going again, he's backheeled it.
Oh, backheel!
And he's got it.
Little idea at the end for the Barbarians. You know what? It could work. Here's Bridge and the Barbarian fingerprints all over that try.
This week's show sponsor, Ryan, is First Point USA, the world's biggest international sports scholarship agency, who've helped over 300,000 talented young sportsmen and women secure places at some of the USA's biggest colleges. It's led by Director of Rugby John Barclay, former Scotland international, good pal of yours. You know a bit about this, right?
How about that bloke? Yes, I do. And these guys are doing some unbelievable work. They're taking kids out of academies across loads of different sports that don't quite make it, that think maybe their dream's over. So take them out and then they find them scholarships over in the US. And what a place to go and, you know, do a scholarship, get a degree, and also play in the sports over there. It's huge. And with the World Cup coming up, they're doing a big old push with rugby in the men and women's games. So they're holding loads of trials across the country. I think you jump on the website. What's the website there, Rory?
www.firstpointusa.com.
There you have it. Jump on there, have a little look, have a read up, attend the trials. But yeah, exciting stuff they're doing, and they're really helping some kids out with some bloody good opportunities.
Opportunity knocks, Ryan. And what a place to be, like the USA.
UCLA,
Mega.
Notre Dame. You imagine it, going over there and
rugby is going to satellite. 2031 Men's Rugby World Cup, 2033 Women's Rugby World Cup. Rugby is going to land proper in the USA.
There you have it. Go check them out.
Hello and welcome back to the Barbarian show, whereby each week we speak with some of the most famous faces to have ever donned the most iconic shirt in world rugby and uncover their incredible stories and insights as we build up to Barbarian's historic match against the World 15 at Twickenham on May the 28th in just a couple of months' time. Tickets are still available for that one on ticketmaster.co.uk. Barbarians against the World 15, 28th of May. Today we're delighted to be joined by a recent retiree who won 4 Six Nations titles, 2 Grand Slams, been on 2 Lions tours, but most importantly for the Barbarians show, he has captained and played for the Barbarians on a couple of tours. So Rory Best, welcome to the show. How's it all going? Are you still celebrating the Ireland Grand Slam victory?
Can you not see it in his eyes?
Yeah, I actually got home, thankfully, very, very late on, well, probably early Sunday morning. I had the taxi booked for midnight. The taxi man thankfully waited a couple of hours till I got myself out of the pub, but I got home in good time. Mother's Day, guys, you know yourself, like you need to get home. And the fact that I made an effort, it might have been 4 a.m. I got in at, but I was still home before morning time.
They see, I got in trouble because I thought 3:30 was a good time, but I got told if you're not back by 3, don't bother coming back, and I got in a lot of trouble actually. So, but you must have carried it on after that. I mean, you like the Irish boys, Roy. You must have had a few going Monday, Tuesday.
Oh no, I had to go. I was in London actually. Then got to work. He said, it's funny, Rory said recently retired. That's one of the good things of COVID, because with sort of 2 years of COVID, everyone thinks I'm very recently retired. So 4 years it'll be in November. I'll go, you can nearly play still. I'm going, yeah, of course I could. Absolutely. Bring the boots with me everywhere. Not a chance.
That's because of the nick here. You're still in good nick, mate. I saw you a few weeks ago at Murrayfield. You're still in good nick. You could do a job.
That's Tag Furlong used to tell me, or still tells me, that black does wonders, not miracles, but I still try. Dress in black. It's all kind of, it's melted from here down around the belly area a little bit. But I kept, my youngest son walks past me regularly, grabs me with the belly and goes, oh, still looking a bit portly. I'm going, lovely. Thank you.
Good man. Well, Rose, I mean, obviously we'll get into your Barbarians insights and stories in due course, as that did come at the end of your career. But We typically start off the show with the same question to every one of the guests that we have, and that is, what does the Barbarians mean to you?
Before I played for them, it was just that you mentioned iconic jersey. It was a team that was just about playing rugby and enjoying rugby. And when in the amateur days, that obviously sort of came hand in hand, no problem. There was a little bit, I'm sure that the game was taken quite seriously when they played club and international, and then this was a bit of a release from it. But now in the professional days, it is about the crack, the camaraderie, meeting up with people that you've played against. You kind of know, especially as Southern Hemisphere guys, that you've only really played against, because now you finish a game and it's as fast as you can get the dinner over with and the formalities, and you go and recover for the next game. So you don't get to really meet and hang out with people that much, that especially sort of those Southern Hemisphere guys. So to actually play Barbarians with them, and it's amazing, and it's everywhere you go that you have a preconceived idea of what people are like, and then you go away with the Babas and you just completely change your mind on some people. Now, of course, there's other people that concretes that you were right what you thought of them. But it's just that it's almost this being able to just go and play and relax and go back in a professional environment to remembering why you played it, and that's because you love playing the sport and the game. And it's not all about, like, winning's important, but it's not always about winning. It's about the ethos of rugby.
Who was a player that you thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get on with this bloke, and then he changed the perception as soon as you got there and had a few beers with him?
Anytime I played against the Beast, you're always a little bit petrified of him because of the size of him. You didn't really have much interaction afterwards, and then you go away to the Babas and you just go, this guy is just a top guy. Really, really good crack. And I think he was probably the most obvious one for me, that you just went, didn't really know much about him, didn't have a preconceived idea that he was anything other than just a very good rugby player, but probably I didn't imagine him being as much crack as he was, and just having that bit of fun. But there was a lot of them I just hadn't heard of, and you kind of go, fuck, this is going to be tough work. Like, is there going to be a shit team because of these players? And then turn up, and the quality of some of the players, and you kind of go, well, like, they probably look at us and go, who's this old bollocks that's coming into play? Never heard of him before. And you kind of go, that is the other good thing, is you just have preconceived idea of going, never heard of him, must be crap. And then you turn up and go, oof, actually, I'm now the one that's crap looking at all this.
I seem to remember the Lions tour, whereby you became bezies with James Haskell. Was that the biggest switch in your perceptions of people before? And is that friendship just continued to go from strength to strength?
Yeah, I think it has, because he's just so loud and you can't get rid of him. It's almost like you feel like the fact you do text back, well, would you ever fuck off? And he goes, ha, you're funny. I'm going, well, I wasn't meaning to be funny, but whatever. But it is of a serious note. I remember whenever Billy Vunipola was ruled out, and then it was Haskell coming in, I remember going, oh my God, this is just going to be hard work. And also you're thinking about it from a performance point of view. Billy at that stage was playing incredible rugby, and you're going, this has just made our task a little bit harder, because for a number of reasons you want to win a test series whenever you go away with the Lions, and you're kind of there. Haskell, and in fairness to him, they'd played the final, that real epic final, the day before. We'd met in London, myself and Hendy and Jared Payne were a bit early, so we were getting breakfast in the hotel, and Haskell was the other side of the restaurant, and he got up and he came across, introduced himself, sort of chat away, going, really looking forward to it, just 1,000 words a minute, mostly shite, but you kind of went, well, actually, maybe this guy isn't that bad. And as the tour went on, because it's a funny one with him, because he gives you this perception that he's sort of either Jack the lad, doesn't care, does what he wants, and actually outside he'll say, if he thinks something, he'll say it, he has no problem with that, but in and around the environment, it actually matters to him about the team, which probably surprised me a little bit. And yeah, look, he has stayed a good friend. He's been over a couple of times. In fact, we went out for a big night, and then I had to go and do the rugby run with the kids in the morning, so I left him to his own devices. But then it dawned on me that my daughter was there as well, so I had to phone him and go, listen, it's a quick turnaround when I get back. You wouldn't mind going to make sure she's up and make sure she gets breakfast. So he ended up having to get her breakfast. I came basically back dropped the two boys off, picked up my daughter, brought her to dancing, and he gave her the breakfast. He also, I should say that he goes, "Oh, do you mind?" I said, "Look, help yourself to anything." And he goes, "Oh, brilliant, I just had a bowl of ready break." And I'm thinking, don't think we have ready break in the house. So then when I got back, I sort of went, "Ready break? So what'd you find?" And he goes, "Yeah, it was only whenever I tasted it and thought it tasted a bit funny, I looked at the date, and the use by date was like 2018. So he got well. He's still alive, unfortunately. I tried my best to get rid of him, but
it won't be as bad as his Iceland meals that he keeps promoting.
I haven't seen him, thankfully, doing Iceland meals.
When it comes to your Barbarians call-up, Roars, obviously you were an Ulsterman first, and then obviously wore the green of Ireland, as we see in the picture behind you. But with regards to your call-up, it came from Coach Eddie Jones. Do you have memories of what that invitation, how that invitation came about?
So the invitation came through Donal O'Shaughnessy, the long-term doctor of the Barbarians, and he texted. So we were in Carton House during the summer, getting ready for that World Cup in Japan, and next thing text go through going, "We're going to play 3 games post the World Cup. Would you be interested in playing? And if you are, then I'll pass you on to." I think Shane Jennings was texting me as well, and then sort of basically through them then. As Eddie was with England, so that was the kind of invitation to play. And then when we eventually met up with the Babas, the first time I'd met Eddie Jones as being, I suppose, my coach, get a text message, "Hi mate, Eddie here, will you come down to the team room?" I'm going, oh my God, what now? Like, I haven't even had a night out, and already he's looking at me for something. And he then, conversation, he goes, "Look, would like you to captain the team. A lot of the English boys speak very highly of you, both on and off the pitch, so we think it's a good fit. Would love you to do it, Twickenham against Fiji." And I sort of went, "Yeah, perfect. Sounds good." Then he goes, "I want you to say a few words whenever the team come in." I'm like, "Oh, come off the back of losing in a World Cup quarter final, went away to Dubai for 4 or 5 days with some of the boys, got home for probably about 2 days, packed, and then was away again. Still had the shakes from, obviously when you retire, you non-stop drink. And then going, I'm going to have to address all these people. I must say, most of which I didn't know, and that was the worst bit of it. Thinking you should have to recognise people by their name, and not really knowing very many of them. But I actually found Eddie Jones was fascinating to spend a bit of time with. He's just constantly trying to get information out of you, and of course, then a couple of drinks in, it flipped, and I'm trying to constantly get information out of him. He's going back and forward to the RFU World Cup review in the middle of it as well. He's just. No, but really, really, really good guy, and it was an interesting week.
He's due to take, obviously, charge of this game coming up in the next 6 weeks or whatever it is. What will he be like with the players when they come into camp? So you say he's pretty relaxed. I mean, with his training sessions pretty hard, he might have changed a little bit. I know we speak to a lot of people about him, and they say that he's developed as a coach, so he might have changed styles. But what do you think the players are going to expect when they come in for this Barbars camp?
I think that he understands the ethos of the Barbarians first and foremost. So he definitely understands it's about getting to know each other and getting to know each other really quickly. And one of the best ways to do that is meals out and having a few drinks, and that you can't have a really, really intensive session after that. But at the same time, he wants to win every time he does anything. Certainly that week, he talked about, what's the best way to represent the jersey. It's yes to do all the other stuff and have fun, but actually to win is the most important thing. And we trained, I wouldn't say we trained a lot, but we did do bits and pieces, and he kind of left it up to the players a bit to figure out what they wanted. But he very much, towards the end of the week, it was, right, let's make sure we win on Saturday. Did the team run. We actually did a little bit of they left the team run up to me, which was easily the shortest session that we'd had in the middle of Hyde Park. Kind of, right, I don't know about anyone else, but let's get a bit of fresh air and then get back to bed for a few hours and try to make up on sleep before we play tomorrow. But no, he was really relaxed, but at the same time, when he had you in the meetings, he was left everyone under no illusions that winning is what it's all about.
What were your memories of the week, Roars? Obviously, there are traditions and different restaurants that the players are typically taken to through the week, occasional fancy dress and so on. What are the kind of memories of the week that jump to mind from your perspective?
I think that week in London was being based in and around Park Lane. You know, it was such a, coming from a farm in the middle of nowhere to then I'm used to being in London, but to be sort of thrust into the hotel there and everything's so accessible. So that was quite good. And then just the meeting, meet, everything was meet for a couple of drinks, then a meal, or meet for a couple of drinks, then go training. No, it wasn't. Meet sort of post training. So we'll have lunch, a couple of drinks, and just going into, we went to a big event in the middle of London, and then it was move on to somewhere else, and it was about the crack. That whole week was really good. I had the book coming out at that stage, so I had the guy who was ghostwriting my book plaguing me we need to sit down, we need to say, I go, yeah, tomorrow 2:00. And then at 1:30, a couple of boys would text and go, anyone fancy going to the pub? And I go, sorry, something's come up. I can't make the book meeting. Maybe tomorrow. He was like, look, we need to get this done. I was like, whatever. We'll get through it at some stage. But that was a good bit of it. Of course, it's always quite fun watching mainly the Kiwi boys coming back with all their designer bags and bits and pieces, because they've got the bright lights of London, and God, you need to spend your money when you're here. And you're going, mate, I'm not sure that the time you get around three games and you're travelling from one side of the world to the other and then go back to New Zealand, I'm not sure that Louis Vuitton bag is going to look that brilliant the time you've tramped it through all your rugby kit.
Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to, I guess, your match weeks or tours in general for the Babas, having a game against Fiji at Twickenham, followed up with a trip to Brazil, to Sao Paulo for a game down there, and then back to Wales. There are definitely worse tours to go on, but just some of the names that you played alongside. Obviously, Mathieu Bastareaud was in and amongst that squad, someone who you would have had many a clash with. Makazole Mapimpi, who have obviously scored a try in the World Cup final just a few months before. What did you learn about those kind of guys from different cultures and environments?
I think it's just that rugby is this ability to bring everyone together, and we talked at the start about sort of preconceived ideas, but that they just were normal blokes that just wanted to get on, have a bit of fun, play a bit of rugby, probably train as little as they could, especially Basta. Like, he was not keen to do any training whatsoever. Makazole I've never seen a man with a hood up so much in my life. You never were sure, is he fast asleep or what's he doing? Just looked at the back of the bus and the hood's up and head down. Even when we did the occasional training session, he was the same. But you get to see the quality of some of these guys coming on, because Lucanian played in that as well, and he was really, really impressive. So it was just, and you play and train, mainly play under the most extreme fatigue, and you just sort of see how much they want to win. Like, there's no way Barbarians teams, with the preparation they have, should ever win as often as they do. But just in the end, when you get a quality player and all the laughing and joking stops when the game starts and they just go, I'm going to win, I feel horrific, but I'm going to do everything I can to win. And you see a lot of that, which I thought was brilliant and really, really good. And especially when we went to Brazil. Like, Brazil was the only kind of regret I have about Brazil is in the middle of it. Bristol were trying to get me to come out of retirement and join them, because they were having a bit of a hooking crisis, and I didn't know what to do. I was back and forward. Part of me wanted to keep playing because I felt I could. I'd come off the back of a World Cup, felt I played all right at that. Probably had more left, probably kidding myself a bit as well. And Pat Lam, there was something about Pat Lam that I was really, really interested. I haven't seen him work his magic at Connacht, what he was doing at Bristol, and I thought from a rugby education point of view, I would have loved to work alongside that. There was a few ex-Ulster players, John Afoa, Charles Piatow, Kevin Geary was there was our strength and conditioning coach. So in the middle of this, I'm sort of trying to enjoy the Barbarians experience, and then I'm also trying to make quite a big decision for me and my family. And in the end, I came home from Brazil early because we played on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So I then flew the day after. Steve, in fairness to him, was obvious. I was trying to go, look, I need to take a few days to go and meet Pat and see what the story is. And he was going, we need you to play. And in the end, the compromise was I'll go to Brazil, I'll play, and then I'll come home. Actually, came home with him to make sure that I could make a decision based on what was best for the family, and not just me either being hungover in a hotel trying to make a decision. I just it's terrific, isn't it? I'm like, I mean, severely hungover, and you're there going, well, what do I do? Right, well, if I play now, I'll feel wanted, and it'll be like somebody's giving me a hug, which is all you need when you're hungover. Going, is this the right thing to do?
Rory, you play Fiji, who I can imagine Barbars versus Fiji. It's like throwing the ball about, having a good time, having a laugh. You play that game, and then you literally out for some beers, and then on a flight to Brazil the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I'm guessing the flight had a couple beers involved in it as well.
Absolutely. But then what happened was sort of a few beers, and then we've had only a few hours sleep. We sort of need to catch up on sleep here. And but it was, so Eddie didn't come to Brazil with us. It was John Mitchell took it. So we got, but funny, the Fiji game was a class game because tackling was very much optional from both teams. But then when I coached Fiji, whatever that was, a couple of years later, there was so many, because that was their Drua team had played. There was so many of them that had played in that game, and they were all like, "Oh, coach, we played against you," and that. And I had to then go back and look at the list, and couldn't believe how many of them had come from that were then playing in that team that should have beaten Wales, beat Spain, and drew with Georgia and that. But it was sort of a couple of years later. It was amazing how it all came full circle. But we get to Brazil, there was a few beers in the flight. We were kind of on separate flights as well, because it was quite hard, and some were in business and some were in, well, I was told premium economy, but
I'm guessing the captain flew business. I'm guessing that was a given.
I tried to give up a business class seat for something as any good leader does, but nobody wanted to take it. So I'm not going to look at gift horse in the mouth. So we get to Brazil, and I think we landed early morning, and it was Mitch there. So John Mitchell, everyone was a wee bit afraid, especially the Southern Hemisphere boys are petrified of him, and they're going, "Fuck, Rory, you need to go and speak to him, like if he thinks we're training." And I said, "Look, relax," I sort of said to Mitch, "Look, we'll meet. We've only one session, boys, and then a captain's run. That's it. It's not many sessions to prepare." And I was Mitchell quietly. I said, "Well, it's to prepare to play Brazil. Like, with all respect to Brazil," I said, "Like, what the fuck?" And he goes, "No. Look, we'll make sure we're in the best position to do it." And we had a bit of a media morning, and the Brazilian players, there's a really weird media rotation they did as you come in. So whatever, 10 players from the Babas, 10 from Brazil, and they paired you with the guy you were going to play against. And you went round and did interviews together at all these stations.
You all stinking of booze.
Oh, stinking of booze. And this young hooker was, like, obviously he played hooker. He's a big rugby fan, and he's going, "I can't believe that I'm doing an interview with you." And they're kind of, I looked at it and went, "Mate, if only you had any idea what is going through my head at the minute. I don't know." But we kind of got around. There's nothing weirder than doing an interview about a game you're about to play with the guy you're playing against standing beside you.
Yeah.
And especially then whenever they went into Portuguese, and I'm going thinking to myself, what the fuck's he saying about me? Now, he could be saying absolutely anything, because my English is pretty horrific, so you can imagine how bad my Portuguese is. And but then we get sort of the meeting at 2:00, lunch meeting at 2:00, and Mitch is going, "Big game, big crowd. There's a big thing for the Barbarians to come and spread the word." And next thing you heard was sort of the jingle of glasses and bottles coming down the hallway behind. And it wheeled into the middle, and we didn't obviously go near a training pitch that day. In fairness to Mitch, he also got it and just went, "Look, the best way for us to prepare is to have a few beers." So we had a long afternoon drinking, and then we went to a restaurant, and oh my God, it was absolute chaos. Sort of my recollection was we had sort of songs about referenced every player. So obviously mine was like "Simply the Best." So every time the group started to sing it, you had to have a good drink. And my last sort of vague recollection is singing "Simply the Best," obviously getting rid of a bottle of beer as you do. And then we're walking down the street. There was a video appeared the next day of walking down the street, and I'm sort of talking to Billy Meeks and I think it was Angus Cotterill. Walking down, and some dickhead has put a lamppost right in front of me that I basically walked straight into. And on the video, I'm sort of walking, talking shit, and then next thing, I go, fuck, who put that there? And sort of trying to veer out of the way of it. And it was just, honestly, the captain's run the next day was, we get there, and so Mitch went, right, we didn't train yesterday, we need to do something the captain's run. And I would say within 30 seconds of a ball coming out, he realised that that isn't going to happen. You know, one of those ones, you put your hand up and it sails straight through and hits you in the head. And eventually I went, Mitch, I don't know about the rest of the boys, but I actually can't do this. I said, I'm going to go over here and sit down. And, you know, you do whatever you need to, but look, I promise you'll be ready tomorrow, but this ain't happening today. And everyone was the same. In fairness to state, Mitch said, look, whatever you want to do. It was sunny, it was lovely, we're out in the park. So just chill out. So chilled out for an hour.
What were your memories of the game in that? Obviously a little bit dusty, no doubt. Still, you won the game 47-22, and I think I'm right in saying that you nudged a conversion as well. So so it must have been a good day at the office, even in amongst what some of the challenges of, let's say, the fatigue of the week.
Yeah, jet lag.
Yeah, jet lag, that's exactly what it was. So we played at Sao Paulo Football Club, their stadium, so big stadium, and like, I'm a big football fan, so to see Sao Paulo, big Middlesbrough fan, and I think Juninho, the greatest player to ever play the game, was in Sao Paulo at the time, and to go into that stadium, that's a wee bit sort of rack and ruin now, but it's just a class stadium to walk in if you're a football fan, and sort of to play there. They also, I think, they had about 12,000 at the game. And before that, the previous record had been like maybe 3,000 or 4,000 when they played the US in a World Cup qualifier. And you're kind of going like, that's what the Barbarians can do and well, should do. And also they do it. They go to different parts of the world where other teams can't go. Like, you're never going to have an Irish rugby team going and playing there, for example. Well, certainly not in the immediate future. And that is what they can bring to the whole rugby world. And we were on, a couple of us were on the bench. I was on the bench with the Beast, and the game, actually Brazil were well and truly in the game. First half, like, it was quite close, it was quite feisty, very, very fractious, as you can imagine. And then on about 50 minutes, Mitch comes over and goes, boys, are you ready to come on? I went, no. And he went, ha ha ha, you come on then, it's a couple of minutes? I went, no. Come back and have a conversation with us on 60, and then we'll see where we're at that stage. And he came back on 60 and went, right, look, it's getting quite close. We cannot lose this game. So he says, tell you what, at 65 will come on. So we agreed on sort of 62. I'm pretty sure he got the guy to hold the thing up, but before that, so we come on. I think one of my first memories of going into the scrum was, like, at the end of the day, you're dealing with amateur players and reasonably, especially in the front row, reasonably out of shape, probably very out of shape amateur players who this is the biggest moment in their life. And we go into the first scrum and you're kind of going a wee bit like, just a little bit of a gentleman's agreement, lads, relax here. Next thing, the scrum collapses and I can hear the Beast is like, oh, what the fuck, you fuck? I'm going, oh my goodness, right? I said, look, relax, will you? And he goes, fuck, I'm not relaxed. So we go into the next scrum and this poor tight head has obviously done something to him. Probably hasn't, but in his head he has. And I mean, the next scrum, this guy got, so I'm hooker, loose heads beside me, and this tight head kind of gets driven back out and over. He nearly lands on the other side of his loose head, and the Beast is still trying to run after him then. So the whole thing breaks up. The Beast trying to run after him. So I kind of grab my man, mate, just relax a second here. Like, you don't want to be the guy that kicks the shit out of some poor Brazilian because he's... And he goes, no, I think whatever has happened when the scrums went down, he sort of continued to push. Something has really annoyed Kandai, and he's gone ballistic. So I'm just going, look, we'll go and beat them now, and that'll be the end of it. So he scored a few points at the end, and to be able to kick that conversion was... So in all the years I played rugby, like I said earlier about my eldest being a big, big fan of my, the sort of rugby, he was talking about me trying to continue to try to make the South Africa Lions tour, and I'm like going... Like, I love the optimism, wee man, but, I'm not as good as you think I am. But when I kicked that conversion, that's the video that he showed everyone the most. Yes. That's his most played video ever.
Your final swan song, a short flight back from Sao Paulo over to the UK. You've made the decision with the family, and then the Barbarians game against Wales at the Principality under the guise this time of a different coach in Warren Gatland, reunited with Warren Gatland. What are your memories of that week? And did it change? Had you made the decision about turning down Bristol, so you knew that this was going to be your kind of final swan song?
Yeah, that was exactly. Sort of made the decision with Bristol, and this was, and like I think we were in the Hilton in the middle of Cardiff, so there's a lot of distraction, and the women's team were there as well. So it was really good that we had a couple of meals together. We had a training session, sort of after each other, an open training session. So it was quite good to get that side of it as well, which was good fun. It was really different to see. Like, it was a big thing for them because they had to, unlike us, where yes, the performance and the result is important to us because you're competitive people. For them, it was a lot more important because they're fighting to keep existence and to sort of prove that it's a spectacle that is worth keeping with from a Barbarians point of view, but also from a World Rugby point of view, that this is a fixture that should be encouraged because it's entertaining. So they were under a little bit more pressure in terms of curfews and actually preparing to the best of their ability. So that was interesting as well, just to see the gulf between the men's and the women's game. You see it whenever you're watching the World Cups and bits and pieces, and you understand that up until recently the Irish women, for example, weren't paid, whereas we are paid, all of that. But actually to be around that environment and to see the kind of the fear that if they didn't perform, that it might be the end of the Barbarians as a women. But like, obviously, as we know, Rory, within the committee, it's a big part of it, and it's always going to be a big part of it. But when they're in that environment, they feel that pressure to make sure that they succeed. So that was really interesting to see. And also, like, ultimately, like I said, you're in the middle of Cardiff. I had a couple of friends. I went and met Nick Williams and Mark Anscombe, who I used to be coached and played alongside in Ulster, and I met them for lunch, thinking that I would meet a couple of boys later on, and I think we got back into the Hilton at about half, because so for my last game, the only request I'd had from the Barbarians was that Gareth Robinson, who had been the Ulster physio for years and years, and then very unexpectedly was sacked by Ulster, and he was always the one that strapped my arm up, the last sort of person I would have said, because we grew up beside each other. And he's a wee bit older now as well, but we're from the same part of the world, and I was always the last person I'd seen going out the door before the changing room playing for Ulster, and I kind of wanted him to be the physio for my last game. He didn't get a sort of a last game of rugby either because it was so sudden, the departure from Ulster, so he was there. So me and him went and met Nick and Cowboy, as is affectionately known, at lunchtime, and oh my god, it was one of the longest days. So sort of the two of them dropped us back to the team hotel. We went for a couple of beers in there, and basically Cowboy was abusing everyone because he just loves the crack. Just everyone like, "Who are you?" I'm going, "Look, stop it, Cowboy." That guy played for Italy, like he's an international. You're meant to know this stuff. It was really, it was brilliant.
What a brilliant way to sign off. Could you think of a better way to sign off from your rugby career?
Don't think, and it was a good crowd at the Principality, probably 60,000, I think, maybe more. Which for that sort of game off the back of a World Cup was incredible. Gatland was obviously the king of Cardiff. He's returned, even though he said he'd never be back, and he had gates named after him and all sorts of nonsense. And but it was really good. And Skulk Brits, he was playing his last game. Definitely this time he said last game. And I think just to play in that and to go out, and the kids actually came out with me as mascot for that game, and like those are the sort of moments. Again, and Nigel was refereeing as well, and those are the sort of moments that you really remember. Don't remember much of the game except for Nigel telling me that, and like I wouldn't necessarily won the fight at all, but I don't know what happened. I kind of lost the rag a bit, and Nigel called me over at one stage and said, "Look, Rory, I do not want to be the one to send you off in your last ever game. Please calm down." I should have said, "Oh, Nigel, you have no idea how hungover I am. No idea how tetchy you get when you're hungover. So please bear with me on this one."
You must have pretty vivid memories of of seeing the replacements board go up and being able to take that time to walk off knowing it was your last opportunity? Because I've got vivid memories of it, of 60,000 people getting to their feet in Cardiff to applaud an Irishman coming off. What are your memories of that, and how special are they?
Yeah, I think that was probably the one that I took in the most, because it had ended up, just with the nature of the way I'd finished, it ended up with all these different send-offs, and I was getting slagged by everyone about all these send-offs. And I remember playing my last game for Ulster was in Glasgow, and we were getting absolutely smacked, and all I wanted to do was get off the pitch, because I knew semi-final, we're out again. You know, it's not going to be this dream finish of lifting a trophy for Ulster. And my dad said after, you must have done something right. You know, even Glasgow supporters were standing up. But you kind of don't really think that. You feel that's all for the family. The same at the World Cup. We're getting smacked by New Zealand, another quarter-final loss. And you just kind of want to get off the pitch. You're aware of what's happening, but you sort of think that's more for the family. Whereas this one, because I knew I wouldn't ever be on a rugby pitch again, I was actually able to take it in a little bit. Also with Stolpritz coming on, who was going to be his last ever game, and just playing against Ken Owens, Nigel Owens refereeing, so much familiar. Cardiff being one of the, outside of your home stadium, one of the best places to play rugby. Some really fond memories of being there in the 2015 World Cup when it did feel like our home stadium. So to do all of that and then to get the standing ovation was just, it was. I'm not an overly emotional person, but even I kind of was a little bit stuck in the throat for that one. I was a little bit annoyed. At that stage, we looked like we were going to get well beaten. I'm thinking every game I've signed off on, last ever, everything has been a smacking. But I'm said that we nearly come back and won. In fact, we should have nearly won.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to have Ryan finish up with a question about selections for the game on May 28th that you may make. But if there was a Barbarian from another era who you could select to play alongside in the Barbarians jersey and spend the week surrounding it alongside, who might that be that jumps to mind?
I think Willie John McBride for me.
Brilliant.
Good hard forward from Ulster.
Yeah, I suspected that might come. Smokes a pipe.
Me and him could be sitting outside the hotel at 4 a.m. smoking a pipe.
There you are. That's what it's all about. And then if you had to pick two players for the up-and-coming game against the World 15 on the 28th of May that are currently playing, forward and a back, who are you picking?
I think Artie Savia. I'd love to see him, but I think he'd be absolutely ideal for them.
Yep.
Just with everything he does. And then the backs-wise, I would love to see Johnny Sexton playing for the Barbarians before he retires. I just think that the thing that people don't get about him is how good he is off the pitch. You know, everyone sees he's mellowed now as being captain, but everyone saw the angry man that ran around shouting at everyone and everything. But what you don't see is off the pitch in a team environment, he is one of the best teammates you'll have. Loves the crack in the middle of the drinking. He doesn't get to drink as much as he should do because he takes the game far too seriously. But he'd be in the ideal environment for that.
Well, but the possibility of having Johnny Sexton as a World Cup winner playing for the Barbarians as his last game, Rory. There you go.
There you go.
There you have it.
Yeah,
brilliant, great stuff. Rory, thanks so much for joining us on the Barbarians show, and we will see you for match week in the build up to the May the 28th match against the World 15.
Yeah, I'll not be there a little bit later in the week. I have a big charity walk to do, you see, and I'm finishing that on the Thursday.
Of course, yeah.
So I'm going to be in the shape of my life by the time I arrive. Hopefully the weather's good and be tops off.
Well, that's it. It means you can have more beers. You feel less guilty.
and know that you don't have to play. So there you go.
Yeah.
So it'll be significantly easier on that Sunday, Roars. Man of the people, brilliant rugby man. Roars, thanks so much for your time.
Cheers, Rory.
Cheers,
take it easy, mate.
Was involved there, but it's an interception. It's George Bridge. It's a breakaway try. Niniashvili somersaulting now. Big George is going again. He's back-heeled it.
Oh, back heel.
And he's got it.
Little idea at the end for the Barbarians. You know what? It could work. Here's Bridge and the Barbarian fingerprints all over that try.